All right. Hey, it's Dustin Droen at Guide Real Estate. I'm here with my buddy Dylan Heikens at Cornerstone Lending. And we wanted to make this video real quick to just kind of address some of the things that we both hear in both of our disciplines in real estate and in lending, especially from our buying clients these days that are telling us that, they want to wait a minute or they're worried about all the things that they're worried about. And so I asked Dylan on this conversation to have a conversation with me really quick. Dylan, do you want to quickly kind of introduce yourself to whoever's listening to
Yeah,
this video?
yeah, absolutely. Well, really, my background in finance, I've been taking that into our industry and trying to create a fun process for people, and really being able to take my knowledge and experience and be able to communicate that in a way that somebody that's maybe buying a house, whether it be their first time or their 10th time, they know the benefits of buying real estate and also the financials behind it and how it can, grow their future well-being, whether that be, just through their equity that they have in properties, or if they're looking at using it as a financial instrument in order to, kind of pass down a legacy to their children and anyone that follows them. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think with right now in this market, I think it's really hard because there's a lot of stuff that goes out there that's all about talking about people's feelings. And I think we tend just in a more recent environment, there's been a lot of things with COVID and everything that's gotten people really, maybe high tension as far as, what is out there, what is factual, what isn't factual. We're in more of I guess, an emotionally fueled time in our lives. And I think just, being able to separate facts from what our feelings are and kind of putting our own perception on it rather than diving deeper into the numbers. So like I said, my background in finance, I'm a little bit of a numbers geek. So I really dig down into the numbers and try to figure out, how can I communicate this to our clients, and, how can I get them into a position where they understand it at the same level of somebody that does it, 24/7. And really, I think just separating that first part of it is that mindset going into it. How do you separate facts from feelings? What people are out there talking in your ear and saying, hey, right now the housing market's high, it's at the top. And when I talk to people about why you think it's at the top, they typically dive into, well, this feels like it was 2008. It feels like, house prices, they can't continue to go this high. And then the question becomes, well, why not? Are there facts and numbers to really back up the housing market and the prices that we've been seeing lately? And one of the big contributors to that is also inflation. And that comes not only in the price of goods that we've been seeing lately, but also in house prices just going at a staggering rate. But also we've been seeing, because it's been expensive, people have been, and we've seen this inflation pressure, we have seen businesses now having to pay their employees higher wages, which then in turn increases their affordability, which will then push house prices to continue to go up. In addition to that, the other big part is, it's a very simple supply and demand. So if you have, as everyone's kind of been feeling, there's not a lot of houses out there, and there is actually a really significant demand, whether it's just you and your friends and your smaller group. If you look at it on, the whole United States, there's a really high demand and unfortunately a supply that cannot fill it. And just going off of basic economics, supply and demand, that's going to continue to pressure these house prices even higher.
That's amazing. So what would you tell like a brand new, like someone who's contemplating getting into the market right now, maybe sitting on the fence about, diving in? I know we talk a lot about opportunity costs, and we talk a lot about, you know, how dynamic and how quickly things are changing. What would you tell people? I mean, I tell people certain things on my side of things, but in the real estate game. But it's nice to hear from somebody that isn't me. That it's better to kind of engage than it is to sit on the sideline. I mean, what are you hearing, and what are you telling people in terms of getting involved and kind of pulling the trigger on something as simple as getting a pre-approval letter. And really, that's kind of what we're talking about here, is really just getting started with that process. Because without that process, especially, I tell all my clients, the first step, the first crucial step in buying a home is getting pre-approved, because without that letter, in the way that this market is right now, you have to have, come in guns blazing and be ready to go. Not only that, but your pre-approval letter helps you figure out what you can afford to buy, helps you figure out, takes away the fear of the unknown of what it is that you're looking at in terms of a house. So, on the financial side of things. So, I let guys like Dylan handle the nitty gritty on that side. And on my side, I get my hands dirty with going out and finding a house and negotiating a deal. So, what are you hearing from people, and how do you address that with clients that you've talked to?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said it that way, especially with kind of going out and the questions of the unknown. So I find that people will make up a decision, and it's just our human nature, and it's something that if we don't understand something, we tend to walk away from it. And understandably so. I mean, that's really fight or flight. It's our natural tendency to protect ourselves, to protect our emotions, to protect ourselves physically. All of those things really play into effect of, why our mindset is, hey, I don't want to take that first step because of fear of what that means for me. Our job as a professional, in each in our respective natures, whether it be in real estate or in the finance part of real estate, in being lending, is to provide answers to questions, because the fear of the unknown is always a big one out there. But you really can't get those answers to the questions that you have without taking that first step. Whether that be just having a conversation, sometimes just getting that conversation through and talking to somebody about, hey, how can we get this going? Or I have fears about this. I don't want to put in an application because, what about the housing market? What about interest rates? I heard they're on the rise. But the big part is taking that step so that you can have those answers for you. I would say that, yeah, really taking an application, it is a leap of faith. You are putting your information out there, hoping that somebody's going to take care of you. And that's why I always recommend people to focus on somebody that you can trust with your information, and somebody that is going to be able to take it to that next level and be able to show you the answers that you need to know, rather than just working on, hey, you're up for this amount, see you later, go out shopping for a house. You want to have a full picture so that you feel extremely comfortable and that you have all the information at hand to make an offer when the time comes. Now, with our clients, as soon as we have that opportunity, once I'm able to discuss with them over the phone, take an application, answer any questions that they may have, that's really when we take that time to dive into a meeting where we can go over all those numbers and review some of those items that maybe are scaring people, whether or not now is the time to jump in the market or to sit on the sidelines. One of the big things for us lately has been seeing rising interest rates. And what does that mean? And looking comparatively to these last couple of years, interest rates definitely do look higher, and they are higher in some situations, and depending on what timeline you're looking at. But if you expand that to about 10 years, or even further beyond that, but that's a little bit out of the range. But even in the last 10 years, we're still at some of the lowest rates ever. I mean, I was talking with somebody the other day, and they said, we used to be pushed that, interest rates at this, it was like free money. And that was when rates were at, 4.5%, 4.25%. So a lot of us that have been around for a long time, we all look at this and say, hey, this is still a great time. But you do have those people that are starting to step back and maybe be a little bit more conservative. And that's when you want to push forward. Because what we've been dealing with such a short supply is having super competitive offers where we're having to go way over asking price. And now maybe we're putting ourselves in a better situation to have our clients win more offers than they ever really have before. And a big part of that is kind of diving into the numbers too. I know we talked earlier, just about, what is the cost of waiting? What does that look like? And to just give you kind of an example of one of my clients, they they were looking at buying a house around a $550,000 purchase price. Interest rates, with her specific scenario, and maybe taking into account another month or two of rising rates, she's looking at about a 3.5% interest rate on a $550,000 house. That seemed a little high at the time. And maybe she wanted to go ahead and stay out of it and look at buying in the next 12 months or so. Well, I ran a scenario real quick by her and kind of showed her, well, this is the real breakdown of the numbers. Let's look at the facts here. We're looking at a lot of analysts that are able to, they've had really good predictions of where the housing market has been going. Sometimes they are a little bit more conservative, but I always like that. I always go for, the realistic side and hope for optimism. But, you always want to look at a pessimistic side as well. But with all of this into account, taking all this into account, really we're seeing a lot of these analysts coming around 8.5% for their appreciation going up this year. And what does that mean? Well, that means that $500,000 house is going to be worth, $45,000 more next year. So in this specific scenario, we were talking about a $550,000 house. If you got it at a 3.5% interest rate today, you would be in a much better position than if you waited 12 months and house prices went up by that much. The difference in her payment, let me just pull this up real quick just so I have it. I had these numbers. Her difference in payment was really going to be once she was able to, let's say house prices, we're at $550 for a purchase price today, 3.5% interest rate, 5% down. Her payment was going to be about $3,100 per month. Now, with the equity gain that she would be getting, or the just owning that house and letting the house work for her, she was going to be able to refinance in the next 12 months, lower her mortgage insurance, and also have the opportunity to lower her interest rates if interest rates have dropped down. If we're looking at kind of what interest rates are expecting to do, let's say they go, high 2% range, we may be looking at her payment dropping to about $2,800 to $2,857. So that's really not that $3,100 payment anymore. So she's not only going to be dropping her payment by $300, but the flip side of that coin is if she waited for those low 2.75% interest rates, she would be paying on a higher purchase price and therefore a higher loan amount. So, what would that look like? What would it look like if you just wait and, just buy when rates are a little bit lower? Well, that would put her at a position of where her payment would be about $3,150. So now she's back at square one, but the only difference there is that she's back at square one, but also has $50,000 less of equity in her home. So she just lost out on a massive opportunity to gain wealth through purchasing real estate. And I think that's kind of the big takeaway here. Not only is she going to gain a lower payment by buying when, maybe others would say, hey, I'm going to back out and wait for rates to drop, but she's also going to be gaining all that equity in there. So she's getting a lower payment. She's going to have value in her home that she could then turn around and go sell and walk away with some cash in her pocket. I mean, who doesn't love that? But at the end of the day, it's going to put her in a better financial position to not only have a locked in lower payment, but also is going to be able to kind of build that wealth and that legacy that maybe she'll one day, pass down to somebody else. So, I love that. And I loved showing her that the moment that I was able to kind of put those numbers into focus, I could see that those fears of, hey, is this the right time to buy, kind of went away. And I think that's what we're here to do. We're here to provide solutions, and here to provide answers and, just be there for people and show them how they can create that wealth.
Not only that, they're a year older now too, right?
Yeah.
Not only did you not jump in when you could have, but now you're a year older and a year's passed and you watch things kind of happen. And now you're just, I think, there's a quote about, remorse or regret weighing a ton or something like that. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. But the other thing too I wanted to just point out is, both Dylan and I are, I think, we're on the same page as far as creating relationships in this business. We're not just about, one and done. We want to have like create a relationship with our clients. And the one thing I know about Dylan is, he's definitely a relationship based person that is in it for the long haul with his clients, in terms of wanting to be like have that repeat business. Like, we get our business from referrals, just like a lot of people do, and our goal is to not just take care of you, but take care of all the people that we touch, and that you touch, and whatever. So it's the goal here is more global, than just our next transaction. We're trying to help everybody that we can understand this. And in a perfect world, we'd love to get everybody into a house and get them in sooner than later. So my last, real quick, I guess we can finish up on this, is the mindset part of this is really, really important. And I think one of the things that both Dylan and I kind of face and have to overcome daily with our clients is this idea of they're going to get beat up in the real estate market. They're going to get beat up with their in their loan. They're going to get beat up, or they're going to lose, or there's a fear of loss somewhere in there. And so I generally have to come in and kind of just get people's minds right about the process. And yes, it is a little scary and daunting in the beginning, but once you uncover everything, and once you have professionals like me and Dylan or whoever you're using, help you find those answers, that fear can go away really fast, as long as you understand what it is that you're looking at. So in a minute, Dylan, can you summarize like how you help, like what your mindset is in this market, and how does that translate with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always. I think that sometimes I can go to geeking out a little bit about numbers and showing that level of excitement to my clients, because I want them to be excited as well. But I think really what it comes down to is working when you're working with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it sounds like a huge beast to tackle, and maybe it's your first time and you don't know when to jump in and when not to. It's really finding those trusted professionals that can help you with information of the unknown. I'm the first one to tell people I'm not going to go try to fix a car. I love my truck, but at the end of the day, like if I lifted up that hood, I couldn't tell you anything. And maybe it's because I just focus so much on what I do, and I try to be the expert in my specific field, that I don't have the ability to do certain things that I let the professionals do. So, really it's not that I couldn't understand it. It's that there's somebody that does it every day, and I want to hear their opinion, and I want to have them tell me. I mean, I'm sure there is a mechanic that could explain it in a way to where I could at least understand what they're doing and how it's going to be beneficial. And that's the goal here is to know, to work with people that can put it into words that we can all understand, and that we can all move forward with, knowing that we're making the right decision and that we can feel comfortable with the decision. And really that first step is taking that leap of faith. It's taking that leap of faith to say, hey, you know what? I want this for myself. I want this, maybe you have a family, maybe it's just yourself. No matter what, you want it for some reason or another. And why do you want it? Dig down, figure out what that is, and make that leap of faith. Because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to find out maybe it's, not exactly where you want to be at this right moment. Or maybe you're going to go walk away from the situation and figure out you should have done this a lot earlier. I think all of us that own houses, and all of us that have been in this industry, we always deal with that thing of, gosh, if I could have bought a house sooner, what it would have done. But, there's an ongoing joke. The best time to have bought a house was right after the housing market crash. Well, the best time to buy a house that's available to you is today. There's no going back. There's no going back to last year before massive appreciation. There's no going back. If we all had a crystal ball to figure that out, I think we all would have bought Bitcoin and we would all be millionaires. But, at the end of the day, it's what can we do now? What can we change now? Who should I be talking to put myself in a better position so that 1 year from now I can look back and smile and know that I made the right decision?
Awesome, man. Hey, I really appreciate your time today, and hopefully you know, we can do these little calls now and again, and hopefully get people on the right track to you know, moving forward with their home buying process. And I'm really glad to be in partnership with you, and appreciate you for all that you do. And yeah, let's help as many people as we can. So I appreciate it. Hey guys, thanks for listening here, and taking a minute to listen to our conversation. And if you need something from either one of us, I'll put our contact information here in this email or in this video or wherever, and get in touch with us, and we'll get you guys set up on the right track. So thank you so much. You